In fact, Gervais, who plays Tony in the award-winning Afterlife, which is back for a third series, has been a lifelong fan of Wilton, having watched her in 1980s sitcom Ever-Decreasing Circles. He used the name of her character in that show, Anne, in Afterlife, and even cast her former co-star Peter Egan as Tony's boss and her love interest. Wilton, 75, plays a real-life angel to Tony in the Netflix comedy drama about a suicidal local newspaper writer struggling to come to terms with his wife's death because she takes the time to listen, something she says we should all do more often. "I think we do far too little of it these days. We are all too busy putting our point of view across in every area of our lives. I think we really must listen to one another, and then perhaps we wouldn't fall out so much. This polarization is because people don't listen. I think we'd have much more in common if we found some ground on which we could all live. The thing about Anne is she gives good advice, but she also listens." Wilton scenes with comedian Gervais, where they sit together on a bench in a graveyard in front of their spouses' headstones, are among the show's most poignant, with fans initially speculating that Anne was a ghost or angel. Netflix donated a number of benches to councils across Britain to mark the release of the third series last month, with plaques displaying QR codes that link to online resources from the campaign against living miserably. Wilton said she had not expected a TV show about grief and death to be so popular. "I don't think Ricky did either," she says. "I did a question and answer with him recently, and he said that the show wasn't going to be entirely about grief. That was the starting point. But he got so much feedback from the public about the first series and dealing with this very difficult subject that he continued. He felt the onus was on him to continue with those themes. I was in the park the other day and a young woman in her late 30s came up to me and said, 'I've lost my mother and this has been a great help.' It touches people. Men are very bad at anything that means they have to show their vulnerable side, like going to the doctors. But to see Ricky in extremis in Afterlife, when he is watching old videos of his late wife, it is very helpful to other men, I think. It's like when footballers come out as gay, it is jolly brave and helpful to others. This macho business only seems to start wars." The veteran actress had never met Gervais before he approached her to take the role of his confidant, but was instantly attracted to his script. "I can only go by the word. That's all I have. I thought those scenes seemed very authentic. I didn't know Ricky, I'd never met him, but I was a great admirer of The Office and I'd seen a couple of his one-man shows on the television. I thought he was a very clever writer and I thought the whole series had something to say but was extremely funny too, and outrageous to say the least." It turned out that Gervais was an admirer of Wilton, purposely naming her character Anne, after the one she played opposite Richard Briers in Ever-Decreasing Circles. The link between the two shows was extended to Egan's character Paul, publisher of the paper Tony writes for. Wilton explains, "Ricky was a great fan of that series and I think the reason he cast me was his homage to it. He has called me Anne and Peter Egan's character has been called Paul, like in the show. I think secretly he hoped Anne and Paul would dash off together and leave Richard's character Martin by himself, putting the telephone receiver around the right way and organizing all those different societies he was keen on." The scenes between Wilton and Gervais are incredibly moving as she tries to help Tony overcome his paralyzing grief. When something is well written, it's not always about the dialogue, it's often about the silences between the speech, because that is how we are in real life. I think he has portrayed grief very well. He is a very empathetic person. In the scenes in Afterlife where you can see him with his wife in old videos, you can see what he's lost. It's such a wonderful relationship that they have. They were two people who found each other. To lose your partner like that, it's awful. But this is the same for many, many people, and it is difficult to cope with loss like that. Wilton, whose most famous roles include Homily in The Borrowers, Ruth in Calendar Girls and Isabel Crawley in Downton Abbey, has become a patron of bereavement charity The Good Grief Trust as a result of her Afterlife role. It's a very worthwhile charity, especially in these times. But it's not just now, it's forever. People will always need help with grief, but not everyone knows where to find it. We're not very good at talking about grief in this country, and it's a great pity. That's why it is important to be in touch with people you can talk to about it, like Anne and Tony. That shared experience. But I can't emphasize enough that everybody's grief is unique to them. There's no generalization, everyone requires different help. The good thing about Good Grief is it is an umbrella for all these groups and people, to find what suits them at different times. Twice divorced, Wilton, who was born in Scarborough, now lives alone in London, close to her theatre producer daughter Alice Massey, and 2 grandchildren. She has experienced grief firsthand, having had a stillborn son before Alice, who was never named. Last September, her older sister Rosemary died of a COVID-related illness, leaving the star heartbroken. Luckily we were out of that period of restrictions and able to have a proper funeral, she says. But I know some people who went through that awful situation. A great friend of mine, the actor Jeffrey Palmer, died in November 2020 and still hasn't had a memorial. He was older than me, so consequently all of his contemporaries are older too, meaning his wife has had to wait. These delays are a terrible, terrible thing, and there is no end. There is no way grieving families can feel they have done their loved ones justice. The isolation of grieving during the lockdowns must have been unbearable. To not be with someone when they are dying and then not to talk about it afterwards, or to go to someone's cremation and be told your son can't sit with you, it was a terrible time. One can't underestimate the emotional turmoil people went through. The poignancy of that image of the Queen sat alone at her husband's funeral, it was terrible. The British are the British. I think we have certain rituals that help us with grief, and if those are taken away, as they were over the last 2 years, it makes life very difficult. We used to have periods where people did mourn people. When I was a very young child, men used to wear a black band on their arm to say they had lost somebody. Funerals are very important, wakes are important, memorials are very important, just as weddings and christenings are. They are there to mark certain key times in our lives. If one cuts short those things, it makes it very difficult. Theatre is Wilton's first love, having started her career at the Nottingham Playhouse in 1969 and winning an Olivier Award in 2015 after 6 nominations for Best Actress. What is happening where you live? Find out by adding your postcode or visit in your area. Her mum Alice Travers was an actress and a tap dancer, as were her uncles Bill and Lyndon Travers, while her maternal grandparents owned theaters. The impact of the pandemic on the industry she adores concerns her greatly. It has suffered enormously. It has been a terrible time, not just for the actors but the theater staff, stagehands, costume designers, scenery designers. All those jobs were redundant for a time. We bring a lot of money into the country and that has been knocked on the head. The West End has been dead. There have been wonderful people like Andrew Lloyd Webber fighting for the theatre, and luckily now it has been coming back. But there have been young people coming out of drama school with nowhere to go. It has been devastated. It can't be underestimated. Hopefully I will be doing a play at the end of the year, but we don't know what the situation will be. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. Luckily Wilton has been kept busy reprising one of her most adored roles as Isabel Crawley in Downton Abbey. Her character is a firm frenemy of Dame Maggie Smith's Dowager Countess, Viola Crawley. As an original character from 2010, having starred in all 6 series and both films, she said reuniting with her old friend and the rest of the cast to make the Downton Abbey, a New Era movie last summer was very special. We had to stay together in a hotel because of COVID, in one wing of a hotel, and saw a lot of each other, and we couldn't go home on a day off. We had some very nice people join us this time, like Dominic West. The younger actors have such a work ethic and have gained such success from the show. I don't think any of us anticipated what a hit it would be, not even Julian Fellowes, the creator. I thought we had signed up for 3 series and that would be it. We had no idea it would be so successful around the world. The film comes out in April and Wilton will also be on the big screen the same month in the war drama Operation Mincemeat, directed by John Madden, which wrapped filming in early 2020. And she says she would jump at the chance to work with Gervais again. He is a charming man to work for. I really enjoyed it. I'm sorry it has come to an end. He has an old-fashioned courtesy as a director and he has a difficult job because he is everything: writer, director, actor. He is an extremely clever man. I'm very lucky to have met him. I hope to work with him again. I'm not sure we'll be doing any more Afterlife, but there might be something else he finds for me.